Hello, everyone. My name is Julie Jeffers, and I am the nutrition coach here at Mind and Body Solutions. And today I wanted to provide my grocery shopping guide. So, I know that everyone has different budgets and different comfortability in the kitchen or time to spend in the kitchen, and this can make it hard or overwhelming to plan healthy meals. So, today I just want to kind of go through some stuff to kind of help provide explanations and resources and options for you to hopefully make that process a little bit easier. So, ideally, for making healthy meals, you want to purchase foods in their whole form. So, whole produce, fresh meat, fresh eggs, etc. Um, because prepared or processed foods can have a lot of undesirable ingredients, or they can just not have peak quality, lose some of the vitamins, stuff like that. But not everyone has time to cook everything from scratch, or they don't have it in your budget, or whatever the reason may be. If you need to go for the convenient foods, that's fine. I'm going to give you some tips for reading the labels and figuring out what's the best option for you. So, when we're reading the ingredients, I'm going to give some criteria I kind of go by in my selection process. So, first, are you having to look up what an ingredient is? If so, generally, I would just say maybe avoid that ingredient if it's not something that's easily recognizable to you. Does the ingredient include any numbers? For example, red dye 40, you know, blue 5, one of those, something like that. Those kinds of things. So I would stay away from it generally if it has a number in it. Does it sound like the ingredient was created in a lab? So this is going to include stuff like phenylpropyl. There's a little bit of gray area because sometimes foods will contain, especially our foods or health products will list things as their scientific name, but most of the time when they do that, they put it in parentheses of it actually is this. So that's just, I wanted to put that as a disclaimer. Is the ingredient enriched or fortified? That means they are enriched or fortified with vitamins and minerals, which sounds great, but a lot of times those are synthetic vitamins and minerals that your body doesn't recognize as food since they're synthetic, and so they're not actually being absorbed. So you're still eating a food that lacks vitamins and minerals. And is the list of ingredients longer than 4 to 7 ingredients? Products that have a super long list of ingredients just kind of indicate that they're more ultra processed, maybe not the best. You want to look for shorter ingredient lists. These tend to be cleaner overall, less processed. So if the answer to any of the questions I just asked was yes, it is usually better just to avoid that product. Now, I'm not saying there are no exceptions. That is just the generalized criteria I go by. And then for other convenience options, if you can't buy, fresh organic produce, if it's not an option, look for frozen organic produce instead. And if organic's not an option, just buying frozen produce in general rather than canned is going to be the better option there as well. So next, I want to go over some health claims and kind of explain what they mean, different terms that you see in the food industry that you might not know don't actually have any regulation behind them. And so we're going to go ahead and dive into that. So natural. This is a claim that doesn't have much regulation. I want you to just be cautious of a product that makes the claim of all natural or natural ingredients, or advertising with leaves and trees and nature related things. but there are no other certifications on that product. Like there's not non-GMO, there's not antibiotic free, there's not organic, any of those. If it only says natural, I wouldn't trust it personally. So organic, this claim is highly regulated by the not FDA, USDA, and products with a USDA certified organic stamp cannot be genetically modified, treated with pesticides, chemicals, hormones, or antibiotics. There's other regulatory authorities that will certify as organic, and as long as they're not being fraudulent, which I mean, I don't know how to tell, but it should follow within the same standards of the USDA certification. Another claim is sustainable or regenerative. So again, there's not super solid regulation for this claim, but it is usually paired with an organic certification. So I would just use your best judgment when selecting these products, especially if they say sustainable. A lot of companies, not necessarily for food, but a lot of beauty products or cleaning supplies have done what is called greenwashing, where they claim to be a sustainable product or better for the environment, but things have come out where that's not necessarily true, or they'll make their packaging look all naturey and stuff like that, just so your brain kind of is like, oh, nature, nature and natural, better for the environment, I'm going to pick this one. When in reality, it might be just as bad as any other, like just as bad for the environment as any other product. So that's just one to be aware of. If it's not related, if it's a food product and it's not also saying organic and stuff like that, I generally wouldn't necessarily pick it, because if a lot of times, if it's truly sustainable or regenerative, they're usually using organic practices as well. So all of that, while I said all of that, I want to make the disclaimer that if you're shopping locally or at small farms or farmers markets, I want you to keep in mind that for small farms and small businesses, it is extremely costly to be USDA certified organic. And so these farms might follow organic practices, but just not be able to afford the title, since it is just a huge financial aspect. And so the best thing I can recommend is, talk to the sellers, or if you're going to a local farm, call the farmers, ask about the practices, ask if they use pesticides, or ask if they treat the animals with antibiotics, or just do your research first. And they might comply completely with organic practices. They just can't legally say we are certified organic because of the cost of getting the certification. So now I'm going to move on to the different food categories and some of the claims that are on them, and I'll explain what they mean. So first, starting off with eggs, regular eggs, your grade A, jumbo, whatever, that category of eggs. So these are just hens that are fed conventional diets, so a fortified corn, soy feed. They usually lack fresh air and sunlight. They're usually in super cramped areas, not the best conditions overall. Because of those poor conditions, they get sick a lot, so they're treated with antibiotics and growth hormones, stuff like that. Vegetarian fed, this basically just means the hens aren't fed any other undesirable animal remnants or bugs or anything. They're just only fed corn and soy. This has no impact on what the living conditions is like. It gives no indication as to what that's like. Certified organic means it's in accordance with organic standards, so it's going to be no antibiotics, no pesticides, no fertilizers, no hormones, anything like that. But it doesn't give us insight into what the living conditions are like. It's going to be presumably better because if they're not allowed to use antibiotics, they're going to need more room per hen so that they avoid getting sick. But there's no guarantee that they're in grazing on grass and in fresh air and sunlight all the time. Cage free. This means there's no cage, but it doesn't mean they're outside necessarily. Free range means no cage, and they do spend time outdoors, but they might not spend all time outdoors. They might get an hour or two a day, and then they're still in a coop, the other 22 hours of the day. There's no regulation on what that window of time looks like. Omega-3 enriched eggs just mean that the hens are fed a diet that's high in omega-3s, so they're usually consuming a lot of flaxseed. This has no insight into the living conditions of the animals. And then lastly, pastured. This means that the hens are fully allowed to have roam on pastures, and their diet is typically, a majority of grass and hay and bugs. So it's going to be stuff that they naturally eat. This doesn't necessarily guarantee organic, but usually pastured and organic are going to be going hand in hand. For beef, regular conventional beef, again, is going to be your diet of corn or soy, cramp conditions leading to the need for antibiotics and then added hormones. Antibiotic and hormone-free beef is exactly what it sounds like. They don't have antibiotics or hormones, but typically still a corn or soy diet and cramped conditions. Organic, again, adheres to organic standards, but doesn't guarantee what the living conditions are. Grass-fed means the majority of the cow's diet is comprised of grass, but does not 100% guarantee that it's organic practice, and the cows may or may not be fattened with corn or soy right before the slaughter. Grass-fed and finished means that the cows graze on grass for their entire lives. Again, this does not definitely certify them as organic, but usually, I would say probably 90% of the time, if it's grass-fed and finished, it's also going to have the organic label on it as well. For seafood, there's really just 3 categories. So there's farm raised. This is going to be your seafood that's usually more uniform in size and generally smaller. They get a fortified feed and tend to be more prone to disease, which requires antibiotics, and the presence of mercury is still possible within the fish. Wild caught means they're caught from their natural habitat like lakes, rivers, oceans, etc. These are going to vary more in uniformity and prettiness, and there's going to be also the presence of mercury within the fish, especially in your predatory fish as well. And then the last category is sustainably caught. This is referring to hand line fishing, troll fishing, jig fishing, spear gun fishing, as opposed to scraping, dragging, or fish blasting, which all of those methods damage the environments that the fish are living in. So when you're picking your seafood, ideally you would want to get sustainably wild-caught fish. For dairy, this is mainly in reference to pasteurization of, your milks, your cream, stuff like that. So there's low temp batch pasteurization, which is really hard to find. Mainly you're only going to find products like that that are made locally or at like specialty health food store. So this is when raw milk is slowly heated and held at 145 for 30 minutes. And this kills the harmful pathogens in the milk without killing the beneficial bacteria. The most common pasteurization is high temperature short time. And so this is when milk is heated to a minimum temperature of 161 for 15 seconds, and then it's cooled back down. And this just kills all the bacteria. And then ultra high temp pasteurization is when dairy is heated to a minimum of 280 degrees Fahrenheit for 2 seconds, and then it's cooled. And this kills all the bacteria and is used to extend the shelf life of a product. So it's kind of like getting rid of any of the kind of good bacteria you would find in the milk. And surprisingly enough, a lot of grass-fed organic milk that you can get from the grocery store is ultra high temp pasteurized, so just be aware of that. Grass-fed milk just means the cows grazed on grass. Doesn't necessarily guarantee that all organic practices were followed. And then organic means that there was adherence to organic standards. And the last one I'm going to talk about is RBST or RBGH free. This means that the cows are not injected with artificial growth hormone. RBST stands for something like some bovine growth hormone, so cattle growth hormone. And so if it says it's free from either of those, that means they are not receiving growth hormones, which is good. So for produce, when you're looking at the produce, it comes with that little sticker on it. There's a number on there. That's called the PLU number. And this can indicate whether produce is conventionally grown with, GMO and pesticides and synthetic fertilizers or organic produce. So if it's conventional, it's going to have a 4-digit PLU number, and it's going to begin with the number 4. If it's organic, it's going to be a 5-digit PLU code, and it'll begin with a 9. And those are just, if it's just a sticker. If it's in like a package, it'll say organic, and if it doesn't, then it's not, For fats and oils, there's a bunch of different kinds, and it's kind of hard to determine what they mean. It's not really ever explained. So expeller pressed oil means it is a chemical-free extraction method with no external heat. And depending on what kind of oil you're buying, heat plays a huge factor in whether the oil is rancid or not. And not rancid in the sense that it tastes bad, because if it's rancid, why are they selling it? Rancid in the sense that it is damaging the structure of the oil, which can cause damage within our body. It's an issue we can't see. Cold press is another chemical-free extraction method where the temperature remains below 120 degrees Fahrenheit for the extraction. Extra virgin means the oil is from the first pressing and is unrefined. Virgin just means it's unrefined, might not be, or is not from the first pressing. Extra light is often refined and may be chemically treated. This means like bleached and stuff like that. Pure is not pure. Pure often means a blend of refined and virgin oils. And then organic is going to be from organic sources with no GMO and no chemical pesticides or fertilizers. And so all of that explanation of the health claims, credit goes to the book, The Pantry Principle by Mira Dessy. I highly recommend that book. She goes into more depth about, looking into ingredients and hidden names for ingredients and stuff like that, and kind of helping to simplify and give you more understanding about the grocery store. So if you want to learn more, I would definitely purchase that book. And it's a quick read. It's a simple read. So that can be a helpful tool as well. Now I want to move on to budgeting tips because I know it's easy to say, oh, you just need to eat healthy, but it can be very expensive, especially with the price of groceries now. So my first tip is to purchase in-season produce. So you can go and a lot of times you can just Google like in-season produce or not in season. Look up like what produce is in season in July in Texas, and that'll give you a thing. So because of that, those are going to be your items on sale most of the time, so that'll save you money. Um, they may or may not have organic options, so that's where it gets kind of tricky. But that's where my next tip goes into play. Every year, the Environmental Working Group, or the EWG, posts a list of the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen. And so this is a list that they have tested like a lot of the common produce, and the test determine which foods have the least amount of pesticide residue. This isn't considering GMO and fertilizers, mainly just pesticides, but it's still a good resource to have. So the list gets updated every year. So check back every year. You can just Google Clean 15 EWG and then whatever year you're looking for. For this year, the Clean 15 options, which means they recommend that it's optional to buy the organic version, are avocado, sweet corn, pineapple, onions, papaya, frozen sweet peas, asparagus, honeydew melon, kiwi, cabbage, mushrooms, mangoes, sweet potatoes, watermelon, and carrots. And then the Dirty Dozen, these are the vegetables or fruits that they recommend that you do spend the money to buy organic. And if you don't have the money to buy organic, maybe just avoid buying them. This is going to be your strawberries being number one, having the highest pesticide residue, spinach, kale, collard, mustard greens, those leafy greens, grapes, peaches, pears, nectarines, apples, bell peppers and hot peppers, cherries, blueberries, and green beans. So, another tip is to buy in bulk when you can. So, if there is organic or grass fed or wild caught meat or fish on sale, and if you have the space and or the money to purchase a large quantity, I would say stock up and freeze the meat to use it later. Also, purchasing dried beans and legumes rather than canned will save you money. You usually get more. I guess it won't necessarily last longer, but you will get more for less. Costco is a great option. They have a lot of organic dry goods, pantry staples that you can, buy in bulk. Same with Sam's, especially they have lots of organic spices that you can buy in bulk as well. So that's an option for saving money. My last tip is just to plan your grocery list based on the sales ad. So if you have the chance to sit down before you go to the store and like kind of look up the store you're going to shop at, like Walmart or Kroger or HEB, either of those options, look at their weekly ad, look at the coupons, using that to help base your meals for the week off of that will also help you save money. Now we're going to dive into where to shop, places I would recommend to get healthy and organic options without breaking the bank, hopefully. So HEB, Kroger, and Walmart, those are going to be the most commonly widespread HEB if you're in Texas. So all three of these usually have a good selection of organic products. This does vary based on kind of the size of the city you live in. I know if you're in a smaller town, they might not have as many organic options just from traveling when I passed through a small town. That's not always a big selection, but if you're in the Houston area, it's pretty common. So all three, like I said, offer some organic produce, meat, dairy, eggs, and packaged food. But out of the three stores, I tend to think that HEB generally has the longest selection, either HEB or Walmart. And so the main organic brand at Kroger is called Simple Truth Organics. The main organic brand at HEB is simply HEB Organics. And then at Walmart, it is Great Value Organic. Sticking to the store brand, organic brand, will again save you money rather than doing a different name brand organic product. At Costco, like I said, there's a lot of bulk organic options for produce or dairy or pantry staples or snacks. They don't always have a huge selection on organic raw meats. They'll have usually pretty good organic, like frozen meat or fish, or kind of the pre-cooked, ready to heat and eat options. Those can just be a little more costly. And then they also have a wide selection of frozen organic produce as well. Aldi and Trader Joe's, I linked them together because they're kind of similar. I know not everyone has Trader Joe's in their area, but both of these stores are good for budgets. They have some organic products. I know Trader Joe's products often have a simple and wholesome ingredient list. For Trader Joe's specifically, since everything is Trader Joe's brand, there's no other outside brand products. It generally tends to be lower in cost, which is great. The only stinky thing is not everyone can get to Trader Joe's. They're not as popular. Aldi's, again, is a good option for budgets. Most of the products are Aldi brand, so that helps to, cut down on costs. The organic brand at Aldi's is called Simply Nature, and then at Trader Joe's, the product will just say Trader Joe's, but it'll be clearly labeled as organic. Other grocery store options, these are on the pricier side, but they do have the most options of your clean ingredient, grass-fed, pasture-raised, wild-caught, organic, stuff like that. This is going to be Whole Foods, Sprouts, and then Irma's Nutrition Center, which is on NASA Parkway. So these have lots and lots of clean and organic options, but like I said, usually a bit more pricey. Thrive Market is an online grocery shopping website. I think you pay like $5 a month for your subscription, but I know that they advertise that you will save up to 30% on organic and non-GMO groceries. I also know that they offer something where if you find the price of a product they sell lower at another store, they will kind of like price match through like giving you kind of, I believe it's store credit within the app. It's called Thrive Cash. But this is a service that you order groceries online and they deliver it to you. And they have meats and snacks and pantry staples and candies and cookies. And they have a large variety of options. You can search by dairy-free, soy-free, nut-free, paleo, vegan, keto, low carb. Like, it is very, very organized. You can filter for specifically what food you're looking for. They have hundreds of options. And so if you don't like going to the grocery store anyway and that overwhelms you, this would be a great option. Another similar service is called Misfits Market. This is another online grocery service. They sell a majority of mainly organic produce at discounted prices, and it's discounted because they are misfits. So they look ugly and not pretty enough to sell in stores, but there's nothing wrong with the quality of the food or the freshness of the food. And then Imperfect Foods is, again, another online grocery service. They have a selection of both conventional and organic products. And again, they're discounted because they're either made with ugly produce, or they'll use like the odds and ends of stuff to make their own brand of products, or they are rescued products, which means like, a store ordered something and canceled it, and then it didn't have anywhere to go, so this company bought it. And then products that have like cosmetic damage, but no actual damage to the quality of the product. And so they advertise as being a sustainable shopping resource that helps reduce food waste. So that's another option. For more specialty but in-person stores in the Houston area, there is the Central City Co-op in Houston, and they offer, you can buy like CSA produce shares there. And then they also have a storefront where they sell raw milk of cow's milk, goat's milk, raw cheese, grass-fed and finished meats, stuff like that. And then there is the Natural Living Cafe and Co-op in Lake City. They also have organic produce shares. They sell bulk herbs, and they have a vegan cafe. When it comes to supporting local farms, not only are you supporting a local small business, but you are getting fresh and sustainable products that you can feel good about purchasing. So in Alvin, there is Froberg's Farm, and they have fresh, locally grown produce. And then a variety of other like homemade, made in-house products as well. Ken's Hens in Santa Fe, they have organic, pastured, non-GMO, non-soy, medicated feed chickens. And so they sell eggs and the broiler meat birds. Those are available at the farm, but you can also purchase eggs at HEB or Irma's Nutrition Center and at some farmers markets. You can just only get the meat at the farm itself. Jolly Farms in Alvin, Texas, sells pastured, organic, no antibiotic or hormone poultry, and they're available for purchase at the farm itself or at Irma's Nutrition Center or at the Central City Co-op in Houston. Healthy Way Dairy in Santa Fe, they have raw milk and raw milk products, and they also sell eggs. And then Wood Duck Farm in San Jacinto County has community-supported agriculture or CSA farm shares, and you can purchase those for produce pickup or produce delivery. So I hope that my grocery guide provided some insight into, simplifying grocery shopping a little bit and provided you with resources and information about where to shop, what to get, how to save money. And I hope to see you all next time.